Lily, you aren't sitting in my chair eating my chicks and sticks about to watch an episode of Dad's Talk Tech without me, are you?
Of course not.
Well, then scoot over, hand me those chicks and sticks, and let's get this episode rolling.
Welcome back to the channel and welcome to episode 9. Keith, I think you're going to be really excited for this episode. We're taking you to Wi-Fi 6.
Hey Bruce, it is great to be back for episode 9. But I have to admit, I'm not that excited about Wi-Fi 6. First of all, what a dumb title for a movie. And second of all, even if it is good, I haven't seen 1 through 5, so I think I'm going to be totally lost.
Keith, actually, Wi-Fi 6 isn't a new movie release. It's actually a new wireless networking standard.
Okay, well that definitely changes things, but I thought the Wi-Fi standards were denoted by a bunch of letters like A, B, C, G, blah, blah, blah.
You're 100% correct. Those letters were part of the IEEE standard. So we had things like A, B, C, G, N, AC, and so on. But the standards group decided that after all these years, that naming convention was too confusing, and so they decided to change it. So now the latest standard is Wi-Fi 6, and the older standards fall in line with numbers Wi-Fi 1 through 5.
So in order to make things less confusing, they came out with a confusing and arbitrary naming convention. Okay, makes perfect sense.
I feel you're paying along with everyone else. If it does make you feel any better, you can refer to the new standard as AX or 802.11ax.
Well, I'm not sure this will really make me feel better, but what will make me feel better is the incredible performance increase that I hope to achieve with this update. So if I can get better speeds and better coverage with my Wi-Fi, then definitely Keith will be happy, all will be forgiven.
How about you tell us a little bit about the equipment you have today and the problems that you're encountering? I know in the studio where you have the YouTube equipment set up, you had some real challenges trying to transfer the video that you've recorded to me. Those problems turned out to be twofold and really created some workflow issues for us for a while.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes sense to talk about my situation a little bit to give our viewers a bit of a frame of reference for what we're trying to accomplish here, as well as what we actually end up accomplishing here. And maybe serve as an example for some, tips and techniques on how they can evaluate their own situations. Maybe there's some good takeaways. Now, in our situation, our internet service provider is AT&T, UVerse specifically. And the way it works, and probably with all ISPs, is there's a lot of different packages that are offered to purchase on a different per month price. And the package that I ended up buying, and it was probably 6-ish years ago, was a 45 megabit per second speed. And I felt good about that, actually. I remember when we did that, how good that felt. So it was definitely an improvement for what we had before that. But I have 2 teenage children who had been progressively explaining to me over the years that, in fact, it is a terrible internet connection speed and that every single one of their friends have connection speeds that are much, much superior to what we have, that, in fact, we are in the Stone Age here with a 45 megabit per second connection. Also, I believe that every gaming session that my son has been involved in where he lost or one of his players died was literally due to latency and was exactly only my fault. I believe those words had been said. So they're not entirely wrong. 45 megabits per second, although it seemed great back in the day, is not great. Not with what's available now, at least in our neighborhood. So that's one thing. The other thing that's important to know about my situation, besides that my kids are a little whiny, is that we don't have Cat5 Ethernet cables, buried in our walls. So the internet speeds that we actually achieve are a function, of course, of the package that we purchase from the internet service provider, but also it's Wi-Fi, right? Everything connects by Wi-Fi. The speeds that I'm getting here in the studio, which is a separate building, that's Wi-Fi, is probably just as bad as what the kids get in their bedrooms. So everything in our house is wireless, and that's kind of the situation that we're starting from here.
So along with slow bandwidth to your studio, You were also suffering from bandwidth issues throughout your home, regardless of where you were. So you and I did some speed testing and determined that not only did you need more download speed, but you also needed significantly more upload speed in order to send your video to me to be edited.
Yeah, that is spot on. That is exactly right. It's not just the download speed. Once we started this channel, I had a situation where I'm not just using download speed, but upload speed as well. I would record content for this channel and need to upload it to the Omaha servers. And it would take a long time. In fact, I did some testing just before we upgraded from the 45 to a full gigabit speed. And out here in the studio, and this is a good day. This is after I rebooted the modem and there was nothing, I think, else going on at the time that was consuming bandwidth. I was getting 34 megabits per second download speeds. You know, not bad. You're paying for 45, you're getting 30-ish. That's expected here. And then, but the 5 megabit per second upload speed was killer. And trust me, that's a good day. A good day is anything that's over 5. Oftentimes the upload speeds would be much less than that. Now, compounding all of this, my son likes to do internet gaming late at night. And when the bandwidth goes down, he tends to get irate. So what he would do is go to the gateway and reboot it. I didn't know he was doing this for, I don't know, about a week and a half. All I knew is that my uploads were never getting to Bruce. But it was an effective strategy for Ryan to get his bandwidth back for gaming.
Looking back, you and I can probably laugh a little bit about this, but at the time we were pretty frustrated not understanding all the dynamics that were at play here, especially Ryan resetting the modem at night.
Yeah, the interesting thing is that the jump from 45 megabits per second to full gigabit, I didn't notice it that much when it just came to browsing the internet, right? Really, that's about download speed. And that's the important takeaway, is that when internet service providers advertise speeds, they really are primarily just talking about the download speeds. In my situation with the YouTube channel, it became about my ability to upload content from the house into the internet. And that's a completely separate thing. And that's what really needs to be known, is that it's not really what they're advertising front and center. You have to look for the fine print sometimes to get that upload speed.
Yes, that is something to watch. But for most people, honestly, what they need is download speed, because that's what services like Netflix and Pandora and other streaming services require, is download speed. Their need to upload information or send data to the internet is much lower than their need to ingest it or pull it down from the internet.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the launch of our YouTube channel absolutely changed my requirements for the internet connection that we have to be more synchronous. In other words, that the download speeds and that the upload speeds were more balanced, or at least very similar to each other.
So once we determined that you needed that upload speed, what did you end up doing?
Yeah, so I called my internet service provider. I called AT&T Uverse. And as it turns out, that 45 megabit per second package that I was paying for didn't even exist anymore. It wasn't offered for sale. They kept taking my money as if it was still a thing, but it wasn't offered to the general public anymore. In fact, I found that I could upgrade to full gigabit, or 1,000 megabits per second versus 45. I could get to 1,000 for cheaper per month than what I was paying for the 45. So that was a bit embarrassing. It was only a couple of bucks cheaper, but still, it was a total no-brainer at that point to upgrade to the, much, much faster speed for less money.
So that probably made everything run better, didn't it?
Not so fast, my friend. Yes, upgrading to fiber, getting the gigabit connection absolutely did improve things, but it improved it to the gateway, right? Remember, in our house, everything's Wi-Fi. I still had the same gateway. So all of the issues that I had with respect to coverage and how my performance degraded based on where I was in the house or whether I'm out here in the studio, all of those issues were still there. And so that's what we're going to cover next.
Keith, how did you determine that you had Wi-Fi speed and coverage issues?
Great question. So the equipment I had physical limitations in terms of bandwidth. I was getting, and I confirmed that I was getting full gigabit speeds or almost full gigabit speeds to that router. But going out from there, it's a different ball game, right? If you're This is where it matters, the protocol, 802.11a, b, c, g, all that stuff. In my case, I think I had AC was the connection that I had, so that's good. But if you had like G, for example, 802.11g, then the most that you can get, I think it's like 50-ish megabits per second. So if you're getting a full gigabit into your gateway, what good does that do if you're broadcasting out at 50? In my case, I had AC, so it wasn't that bad, but the numbers will bear it out later. The choke point or the limiting factor on the coverage and the broadcast area is all about the wireless at that point.
So it sounds like you took some measurements in various places in your home in order to establish a before scenario for us, and now you're likely to show us some of that after information.
Hey, you're reading ahead in the script again, aren't you?
Yes, you've caught me once again. How about if you roll some of the video of what you did to take those measurements, and we'll also discuss that Asus Wi-Fi 6 or wireless AX router that you purchased and we're going to implement today.
Sure, yeah, let's do that. Let's talk about the measurements that were taken to evaluate the Wi-Fi signal strength or the coverage throughout the house. So to do that, to measure the strength throughout different locations in the house, step 1 or step 0, however you want to count it, you need a map of your house. So here are the floor plans to my house. Now, I had to draw these from scratch because I don't think I ever had the floor plans to this house. So I drew them. I used an app on my iPhone called Magic Plan. I kind of liked it. It was hard for me to learn how to draw with thumbs. I was very skeptical that I'd be able to pull that off, but I kind of did. And Magic Plan allowed me to drop down furniture, and counters and where my refrigerator was and stairs, right? I didn't have to draw each of those little stair steps myself. And so I think I came to appreciate the program. In your case, if you do have the floor plan from the architect of the house, well, you're in luck. You can just scan it. It doesn't have to be a CAD file format like a DXF file or a UG part file or nothing like that. Any kind of GIF or PNG or JPEG, all those things just work. So what do we have here? You can see my house is pretty skinny. Here's my back door. Here's my front door. My wireless gateway is right here on top. It's about 10 feet up in the air on top of some cabinets. And here's my basement. So you walk down the stairs and you get in the basement. I did not draw the third story of a house where the bedrooms are. I didn't draw the garage where the studio is, where I'm at right now. I should have. I'm just lazy. But it still serves as a decent reference to explain and see how these coverage maps work. And so how did I take these measurements? So you can kind of get an idea. You see this line that kind of snakes through the house and around the furniture? That is literally me walking through the house, holding my laptop like a pizza box, right? Running a program, wandering through the house. And everywhere you see a dot along that path is where a surveying program that was running took a discrete measurement, okay? And it actually took measurements of all the wireless signals in the neighborhood, although I'm only showing the results for my particular wireless router, but all of them were measured actually. And so what are the colors? The color is sort of a 2D topographical map of the signal strength. Now, in reality, the signal strength is a continuum throughout your house. We're only measuring at discrete points, and what it's doing is a kind of a spatial averaging to pretend as if the results were measured everywhere, if that kind of makes sense. And what do you notice? You notice that, my wireless router is on the main floor, and I've got red pretty much all over the first floor, which is a good thing. That's where the router is. I can tell you from having lived there that the front of the house down here is no bueno. It's terrible for Wi-Fi signal. But that's not really shown in these measurements. Why is that? Because right here, I don't know if you can see this dark red spot. It's because I have a Wi-Fi extender there. I actually pay a little bit extra every month to AT&T to have that, like a subscription. Anyway, without that, it would be terrible. And in fact, in the basement, underneath where that Wi-Fi extender is, that's typically the worst location in the house, but it's acceptable because of that extender. truthfully, I should have unplugged that thing to give a true apples to apples comparison against the Wi-Fi 6 router, which does not have an extender. So anyway, that's maybe a flaw in my methodology, but you can still draw some interesting conclusions from this, which is in the basement, you can see there's a lot more yellow and cool blue signal strength. These are the areas where it's going to be difficult to get a Wi-Fi signal. And I'm actually feeling pretty good about my furniture placement actually, because it's pretty strong right where I sit on the couch in the basement. So that's good. Anyway, so that's the measurement technique, and this will serve as the baseline for how I compare against the more modern Wi-Fi 6 or 802.11ax routers that we'll talk about in a minute.
Okay, how about if you walk us through the unboxing of that brand new Asus ROG Raptor GT-AX11000?
All right, let's do that. So I'm not going to do an unboxing. I'm just going to show you because I've already got it set up. Everybody's seen unboxing videos, right? So here is the actual, I don't know, the light and the reflection, how good it is. But this is the Asus, what is it called? The GT-AX11000. It's a Republic of Gamer ROG Rapture. I'm not a big fan of the way these are branded and the way they look. It's like a Darth Maul thing, something that a 14-year-old kid might really get into. I don't like it, but hey, it's going to sit on top of some cabinets that no one's going to see. As long as it works, I'm okay with it. So that's what it looks like. Let's talk about what happens coverage-wise. So I took these measurements at the exact same time. So actually both wireless gateways were on when I took these measurements. So as you notice, the path was identical. There's actually three signals that get broadcast from this. There's one called a 2G, and there's a 5G-1 and a 5G-2. So if I look at the 2G signal, before, after, before, after. First thing I notice is that, at least for the 2G, I get pretty good coverage all across the main floor without the Wi-Fi extender. So already, point to Gryffindor for that one, or point to Darth Maul for that one. In the basement, you can see it's okay. It's about, I don't know, just as bad. There's less blue areas. It's actually better from that perspective. The front room here isn't quite as good, but it doesn't have the Wi-Fi extender helping it out. So I'm going to say it's better coverage just qualitatively. Now when we go to the 5G signal, which by the way, the 5G-1 and 2, much faster. We'll see that in a minute with the speed numbers, but now we're just looking at signal strength. You can see the 5G one does less of a good job farther away from the router. So you gain a lot in speed, but you're getting less signal strength farther out you go. So more yellow and blue in the basement, but on the main floor, pretty even. And 5G-2 and 5G-1 are not exactly the same. I just figured 5G-1, 5G-2, they should be similar, but they're kind of different. And 5G-2 seems to be better, frankly. So that's the coverage. Maybe I will invest in one of those AI mesh node things that are like a Wi-Fi extender, but supposedly easier to set up and probably better. So that's that. But now let's talk about speed, right? Because that's the point. Now, in the basement, I was sitting on my couch, and this is the before situation inside the house. Very close to a different floor, but very close to where the wireless gateway is. I was getting 300 down and 300 up. Again, this is with the gigabit upgrade already in place. This is just the old gateway. Now, once I upgrade to the Wi-Fi 6, Darth Maul router, I'm getting 572 down and 273 up. So interesting that it's not as balanced on the up and down, but it's definitely faster. The download is, well, it's almost twice as fast, which, hey, point to Gryffindor for that one, point to Darth Maul. Now, that's the basement. Now let's go farther away into the studio, separate building. Now, with the old router, I'm at 100 download, 43 upload. Signal degradation and bandwidth degradation as you get far away, right? But with the 5G, I'm getting 276, so definitely twice as fast. here in the studio on the download side, and better on the upload side, not twice as good, but from 44 megabits per second to 66. So I'm loving the new router. It's faster, the coverage is better without any extra help, and yeah, I think this is a win. This is definitely a win.
Keith, it really seems like you've made a pretty dramatic improvement, not only in your upload and download speed for your internet connection, but also your coverage area and speeds throughout your home and in your studio.
Yeah, we sure have. And the best part is that I can definitely take advantage of the technology built into here to get these AI mesh compatible range extenders. They're not technically range extenders, but it allows me to build this so-called modern mesh network throughout the house to take care of any extra little blue spots if I discover over time that they're actually a problem. And I think I can get even better speeds.
Yeah, I think we do need to do an entire episode on mesh networks. And when we do, we can use my setup as another example of that.
Yeah, sounds good. For now, I think it makes sense to thank everybody for joining us today. We really appreciate it. I hope that this was educational for at least some of our viewers in terms of helping you evaluate your own situation for your internet and your wireless solutions, and hopefully for determining if some of what I went through is helpful for your own journey with your own setup.
Yeah, don't forget everyone, hit like if you enjoyed this video, subscribe if you haven't already done so, and click that bell so you get notified when we release new episodes. Until next time, we're Bruce and Keith with Dad's Talk Tech.